Hey guys, so we're at a friend's house right now, and I figured this would be a good opportunity to show you guys the manifold and the tuner, and let you guys know how it's going. So let's go check it out. And instead of going to the front of the truck, we're gonna go to the back of the truck. And here's the manifold. If you hear an exhaust noise, that's the bunk heaters going on right now. The reason the manifold is off of the truck is during installation, Kenworth had to make some adjustments. I'm redoing this video because at the time I didn't realize that the adjustments is what caused this to happen. This fell off. This flange meets with the EGR on our truck, and unfortunately it just broke off and it was just rattling around. And yeah, so we had a massive exhaust leak and we had to get it removed and get another manifold installed. Unfortunately, we did not go with another bully dog manifold. We just went ahead and went with a Paccar one. But let me show you exactly what adjustments they had to do. So from what they told me, right here, 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 and here, they had to make these adjustments, which it looks like they just drilled into it with a drill bit. And let me center this kind of well. If you can see there's a gap. There's a gap on the left, and here it's kind of flush, but there's a kind of a gap on the bottom right one. I think they might have drilled just a little bit too much, and the integrity of the flange here just failed. Here's the back side of it. It's kind of dark with soot, so you can't really see much, but here's this side of it, so you can see how jagged these edges are now. So pretty much within 7,000 miles we had to replace this manifold, and we're gonna go to the front and show the new one. So within 7,000 miles we had to replace that manifold. During that time the throttle response was much better on the truck, and the flange, I don't know if you can see right here, is where it broke off. So this, the EGR, which is this, was just hanging around. It was just flopping around, which the EGR isn't bolted to the truck. That's up through this flange here via V-band, and the flange on the manifold by V-band, and then these lines here. So if this flange would have broken because of the vibrations, our EGR would have just been hanging around. Luckily it didn't break off. Okay, so we had better throttle response, and we really didn't see that much better MPG out of it. But again, we only did testing for about 4,600 miles. So let me go ahead inside, grab my notes, and we'll go through this video nice and quick. Okay guys, so let me see how that looks. I'm having to use my phone as a light source just because I'm doing this video kind of late. So I want to go over the manifold now that I'm inside. Let you guys know what I think about it, what I think about bully dog, what I think about the tuner. And let's start off with, okay, we showed you how the manifold failed, or at least how I think it failed. I started sending it to bully dog. I still have to send it to bully dog and have them verify it. Okay, I wouldn't, if you were to ask me if I were to reinstall this, the answer would be no, just because the thing about it is I have to send them back the manifold so that they can verify that it failed under a warrantable reason, and then send me a new one. And just that downtime can cost a lot of money. Now, I know some owner operators that are solos that their day rate is, they're making like $600 to $1,000 a day. So as a team, you know, that could be possibly double, $1,200 to $2,000 a day. We're just gonna go ahead and call it 1,000. And let's say, okay, I bring it into Kenworth. They had to take it apart. For one, they had to take it apart. They had to be willing to take it apart for me to be able to send it back, because once they take it apart, that's it. They can't move that truck. It's stuck in the bay. So if it's a small dealership, that might not be an option unless they forklift it out, which I have seen some do. So that's one day. I send it to them. Let's say I paid for next day. Should arrive next day as long as I send it in time. Let's say I do send it in time. Let's say I start off on Monday, which I didn't start off on Monday. Started off on Friday. Send it off on Monday. It arrives Tuesday. So that's already 1 day down for this manifold. I don't know how long the process takes for them to get to it, but I would imagine that they probably don't have a lot of part failures, so maybe their techs can get to it quick. But let's just say it's a regular 1 to 2 day wait for the techs to get to it. So that's already 2 to 3 days that we're waiting for the techs to get to it. Techs figure it out. Let's say they next day it. I don't know if they do, but let's just say they next day it. We're looking at 3 to 4 days of waiting for this manifold, when if the Kenworth dealer has it, they can knock it out. The job is only an 8-hour job. So technically speaking, if they had the manifold, I could have been in and out the same day, you know, instead of having to wait till possibly Wednesday or Thursday for this manifold to arrive and then have them install it and either be ready Thursday or Friday, you know. So that's the one reason why I personally wouldn't do the manifold. But I can understand why they do it, because in a business standpoint, guys, if I'm giving you, it's a $1,500 manifold, and you say, hey, it broke, I can't just send you another $1,500 manifold without first receiving the original and making sure, one, it's our part, and two, that it's warrantable. Because, like, in this sense, it doesn't even look like it's warrantyable. Now, if they warranty it, that's awesome, you know. Would I install it? I still wouldn't install it. And here's another reason why, is because you can't do California with the manifold or the tuner. But the thing about it is, well, let me finish my first thought. That's on the business standpoint. I can understand why they do that, you know. They have to know when it's warrantable and when it's their part. And then it's not just a fraud. But on a consumer basis, having to sit for that long, you know, especially if you're ready to roll, like for us is, we spent 2 weeks down getting the manifold installed, dynos, and getting a lot of just maintenance done on the truck. And, you know, we came back over the road. We took a week off for Jane's family's wedding, came on the road, and day one, the manifold went out. We've been down for practically, after those 2 weeks, we worked a week, took a week off, and then we're going to work until Thanksgiving, which was going to be another week or two. And we broke down the first day. So in that sense, like, as a consumer, if you're tight on money or you just don't have that much money, you can't afford for this to risk being down for X amount of days if the manifold goes out and you have to send it out and bring it back, you know. So that's why on a consumer basis and on a business basis, I can understand both views. But as a consumer, I just can't afford to have that downtime. All right, let's see what's next. Now, the new Kenworth was awesome. They went ahead and they got us in day one, and they took a look at it, and they were like, the one thing I didn't like about it was they said, is this an aftermarket manifold? And we were like, yeah. And he's like, it's the manifold. I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to see you take off what you're talking about broke. You're saying it's a flange, take it off. So he takes off the V-band that connects to the EGR, and you just hear the flange fall off. And he picks it up and he's like, here's your part that broke. And I'm like, no problem. Let me take pictures. I'll send it right over to Bully Dog. Sent it over to our sales rep. And, you know, he was like, I've never had a manifold fail. Can you send me some pictures? We went ahead and sent him some pictures so he can check it out. And the Kenworth went ahead and take care of it. We had the shop foreman actually take care of it, which was awesome of him. And it got done pretty quickly. Now, okay, and here's another reason why I wouldn't install the manifold, because for me, it really doesn't matter. The thing that does matter is their tuner, and that's what we're going to move on to now. And the reason why I say that is because we drove for those 4,600 miles, and I did do some MPG testing on it. Now, it was for 4,600 miles, but it was still something, you know. I was able to see what those numbers were, and they were up there. You'll see at the end, they were in the 8s. So our highest MPGs were 7.9 before the manifold and the tuner, and that was very rarely, guys. Like, very, very rarely. We didn't get that very often. It was usually a 7.4 or 7.5 as the high. The new MPGs are now in the 8.3 to 8.4 as the high, you know. So let's see. So those adjustments that Kenworth had to do on the manifold, if they really had to make them, which, I mean, I wouldn't see why they would lie about it. That's kind of messed up. And I do trust that Kenworth. It's not like a Kenworth that I don't trust. If they really had to make those adjustments, that's when I see it as it might be a design flaw on Bully Dog's side. From what Kenworth said, when they tried to make the two surfaces, the flange and the EGR, to put the V-bend around, the flange was too thick and they had to make those adjustments just to make it fit with the EGR. So if that's true, which I'll send it back to Bully Dog, and I don't know if they'll tell me, but if that is true, then I could see that being a design flaw on Bully Dog's side. But I still don't fault them for it, because I don't know if that's really true, you know? Like, I didn't see it before they made the adjustments, sadly. So with the manifold now off, and we just had the tuner, we're seeing still in the 8s for MPGs. That's why I'm saying that I wouldn't get the manifold again, because for us it's not really necessary. The manifold, in my eyes, is more of a horsepower product, versus the tuner is a horsepower and economy product. So I personally would just get the tuner. If I were to get another truck, I would just get the tuner. I wouldn't do the manifold again. And the reasons why is, with the tuner you can do 3 things. You can do economy, economy power, and power. With the manifold, it's just there. It's one feature, and that's, well, it's not one feature, but it does one job. You can't adjust that job, you get me? And the thing is with these products, they're not carb approved, so you can't drive through California with them. And with California paying so high on their loads, it kind of is a downfall for us and other drivers. So with the manifold, you know, it's, as you guys saw, it's silver. It pops out, you know, and I'm not going to be trying to prove to a cop that it's carb approved when it's not carb approved, you know. So if DOT pulled me over, I could possibly get a fine for it and have to remove it anyway. So now with the tuner, that's also not carb approved, but the thing is I can take that off. I can just take it off of its, here, let me take off the GoPro. Well, I'll do the GoPro and I'll show you guys later. I can take it off of its mount, put it in the box, and DOT would be none the wiser. I can take it off and hide that, and the tune still runs even if the tuner itself isn't plugged in. Once you tune the ECM, you can unplug the tuner and put it away. I use it for the driving coach, which I'll do in another video. So that's another reason why. And, you know, some people might be like, well, if you tune the ECM, DOT can see that. DOT can see that the ECM was flashed, not technically tuned. And in the automotive industry or in manufacturer industry, that does matter, because a manufacturer can look in and be like, okay, we've done 2 ECM updates and this says that it's been flashed 4 times. Obviously that wasn't us, so what are the parameters? The manufacturer knows the parameters. They look at the parameters, they can void your warranty. We used to do that at Audi. If we saw a vehicle ECM was flashed more times than we've done it, and we don't have records of it, and we look at the parameters, we can void a warranty. DOT doesn't have access to that. So that's why I think that the tuner is just a better option. Just because it's like, you can still do California and still yield the high performance in fuel economy. Let's see. Now, the tuner has a feature on the bottom left when you're doing a driving coach that says gallons used. It's not as accurate as I would want it to be. Like, it's off by at least 15 gallons on the higher range. Like, when you first fill up, you know, and you're like just driven 100 miles, it's pretty accurate. But when you've driven 1,000 miles, it's off by quite a bit. But in a truck like mine, where the needle, once it goes past half, just plummets, You know, I can go from half to a quarter tank in 150 miles when in reality it should last me about 400 miles. It is much more accurate than my fuel gauge. So I actually personally do use it just so I know, okay, I can make it to these fuel stops, you know, even though it's reading an eighth of a tank, I know I can make it without any issue. Now, we have the Bully Dog GT tuner, and the reason why the GT is worth it in some senses, if you know you're in a lease where you're switching trucks all the time, but you're paying for the fuel, or you're planning on getting a new truck. Like let's say I have this Paccar and I want to give Cummins another try. Some things that we can do is with the GT is I can uninstall it off of this Paccar and install it on a Cummins. If you have the regular tuner from Bully Dog, you only get one shot. What is it? Is it Paccar, Cummins, Detroit, Cat? That's it. You know, whatever you pick, that's what you're going to be tuning. You can tune multiples, but it's only going to be on that engine type. So that's something to keep in mind. Now we're going to go ahead and go over the MPG test, but I want to go ahead and reiterate this, guys. I don't blame Bully Dog for the tuner failing. Not at all. Their products work, guys. When I put on the Manifold, right off the bat, first test drive, I can feel throttle response was better. Looking at the tuner, I can actually tell that, and it does say that, sorry guys, there's somebody honking at me and I'm not even looking at them. Now, they also advertise that EGTs will be lower. Looking at the tuner, it lets you look at I look at the exhaust temperature on the turbo. I've actually seen it be 50 to 100 degrees cooler with the Manifold. So, you know, that's pretty awesome. To be able to keep those EGTs low, that's great because it can keep the turbo from failing. So if you're worried about having turbo issues, this Manifold might be for you. If you're like always pulling hard and going up mountains and heavy, this might be a great option for you because you can keep those EGTs low and have the turbo work better, you know? That might be a better option for you guys. Throttle response, like I said, it's much smoother. It had a slight jerk while accelerating, and with the Manifold, it was just nice and smooth. So we kind of have that slight jerk again now that we have the regular Manifold. So that kind of sucks, but the thing about it is, for us, it's just the tuner is giving us what we wanted. You know, we were getting high enough MPG already that the tuner was enough. Now, if we were getting like our T800 with a Cummins where we were getting like 4, 5, yeah, believe me, intake manifold, exhaust manifold, and the tuner, I would need all of it to get me as high as MPG as possible. But because my MPG was already 7.3, 7.4, the tuner is enough, guys. So now the tuner, if you have a truck and you know, hey, you know, I like my T680, I like the Paccar, I'm only going to keep Paccars. Like me and Jane, we know we're only going to be keeping Paccars. If we're going to get another one, it's going to be a Paccar. It's probably going to be a T680. As much as I would love a Volvo, they go for too much used. It's ridiculous. It can be a 300 to 400,000 mile truck. They want 100,000. I can get a truck like this with 375 for about 60,000. You know, it's like, I already know the facts about it. I know, and that's with an APU, you know? So that's the reason why I would do that. But so if you know, I'm just going to be getting Paccar, you know, you don't need a GT. You can go with the regular tuner. Now, if you know, like, for example, like, let's say me and Jane were like, let's try Cummins again. Instead of getting a 2250 or an IX15, let's get an ISX15 with a CM2350 because they fixed a lot of the issues that we had in the CM2250. You know, then the GT comes into play because now you can go ahead and untune this truck, sell it off, and tune your Cummins. So that's where the GT might come into play. But if you guys want the most bang for your buck out of the two, which one would I get? Tuner. All day long. Just because it provided us with, if I were to do an average, I would say we gained about 0.5, 0.6 MPG at least, you know, over our original 65 mile per hour test. So just knowing that, it's well worth it for us. Now, like I said, if some of you guys are doing these heavy hauls or you're going up mountains all the time, the manifolds might be ideal for you guys because you can keep those EGTs low. So it's kind of a case-by-case scenario. What exactly is it that you're hauling? How do you drive? What are you looking for? Are you looking for power? You need the manifolds. They're going to provide it for you. Are you looking for efficiency? The tuner can provide it for you. Now, not to say the tuner can't provide power for you, because I'm sure it can. I didn't do a just manifold and then manifold and tuner dyno test. I just didn't have the funds for it. But the tuner does provide some power performance. I can tell you, just because even without the manifold, we're still beating people up these mountains and up these hills. And it's like, I'll put the cruise control on, I'll be 30,000 in the box, and I'll just pass W9s like it's nothing. I'll pass cattle haulers like it's nothing. So it's like, obviously the tuner can do something. This video is going kind of long, but I wanted to go in depth on what I think on these products. Again, I do not fault Bully Dog for this manifold going out. Please keep that in mind, guys. I don't want you guys to see, and I'm going to cut this into the beginning and here so you guys know, I don't fault them for the manifold going out, and I don't feel like you guys should either. Now, that being said, if you got a manifold for your truck and it doesn't fit and you need to make adjustments, don't let who you're having install the manifold, or if you're doing it yourself, don't do the adjustments without consulting Bully Dog. Because if it's not going to fit, you need to let them know from the beginning, hey, they're going to have to do these adjustments just to make this thing fit. What's going on? You either need to send me a new one, or I got the wrong one, whatever the problem is. Because if you have an issue like mine where you had to make adjustments, it might not be warrantyable. Okay? And, you know, yeah, I don't blame them at all. Their products work for what they are. And honestly, if I had to, I'm not sure if you can tune multiple vehicles on this tuner. Like if I can just tune my truck and without uninstalling the tune another truck, and without uninstalling that tune another truck. I'm not sure if I can do that, but if I had to buy multiples of these, I would buy the tuners. For like, if I had a fleet of 10 trucks, I would buy 10 tuners if I had to, you know, just because it's well worth it. I'll get my money's worth, you know. At 0.5 MPG, me and Jane are saving about $500 a month in fuel. So I'll make my money's worth back in 4 months. That's a no-brainer. I'm gonna buy the tuner. The manifold, it provided maybe 0.1, maybe 0.2 for us. But it's because we had such high MPG, this truck's already efficient enough. The manifold really had, it had too much to compete with, you know. Now, like I said, if I had my T800, where we were getting like 4 to 4.5 MPG, the manifold would make a difference. Okay, guys, so enough of my rambling. I'm going to go ahead and end this. I have to go inside and say bye to our friends. We're actually going to be going to work now. So I hope this was helpful. And, yeah, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to go ahead and put the MPG test for that 4,600 miles. Keep in mind, it could have been a lot better. We did have to idle in Arizona for about 15 hours. So we're going to go ahead and equate that to about 15 gallons, just to be on the safe side. And so yeah, let's move on to that, guys. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, so starting off this video, I just finished watching Make Sense over here, his Uber Freight video. You know, just hearing out what these other truckers got going on, and want to go ahead and put the MPG testing for you guys at the end of this video. So this was right after we got it installed. We were in Idaho. We headed to Salt Lake. This is where we fueled. And I'm going to go ahead and put up the fuel receipts like always. I'm not going to do the dates anymore. And I'm not going to do the landscape on Google Maps and all that. Just because freight's starting to pick up towards the end of the year. So we got to go. That's another reason why I haven't been putting out videos on the regular. That plus we've been down for quite a bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with saying 7.9 was our original high. So if we go to our first MPG test, as you can see, it was right here, 7.9, with 65,000 to 50,000 pound freight. It was going from Deming at 65,000 pounds and going to Phoenix, and from Phoenix back to Deming at 50,000 pounds. So as you can see, it was 7.9 as the high of the MPG. Other than that, 7.7, you know, 7.4, 7.3, 7.2, you can see that those are more of a regular occurrence. rather than this 7.9 and this 7.7. Because even at this 50,000 pound load, if you thought it was the 50,000 pound load bringing it up to like 8 point something that brought this on the halfway back, that brought it up to 7.9. I mean, look at the rest of it. From Deming, New Mexico to Sealy, Texas. I mean, that's not really that mountainous, and we ended up getting 7.3. So this 7.9 and this 7.7 are kind of, they're not the norm. So it's more of a 7.3, 7.4, as you can see, and even then our average MPG was 7.3. But the actual on this run was 7.7. Again, I don't go off of that, I go off of these. Okay, so now looking at this, we started off in Salt Lake City and we fueled at a Pilot. I'm not gonna show the receipt. I didn't put that one. I didn't save that one. From Salt Lake, we went to Las Vegas, and from Las Vegas we headed over to Phoenix, but we ended up stopping in Kingman, Arizona. The reason why I put that was because we actually fueled in Kingman, and unfortunately I forgot to add fuel into our money card. So I mean, money into our fuel card, so I wasn't able to fill up the entire tank. Both nozzles had already clicked. I was on the top off on the passenger side and it just stopped. So I probably could have added about 8 to 10 more gallons, and I'll kind of show you the math on that and how that could have affected this trip. Okay, so from Kingman we headed to Phoenix. We got there Friday 6 a.m. Was it 6 a.m.? Yeah, Friday 6 a.m. and from there we couldn't go any further without going somewhere that we didn't want to go, Albuquerque or El Paso. You know, we didn't want to spend Sabbath there, so we decided we'll just sit there. However, it was still pretty hot. It was about 100 to 90 degrees out, and yeah, we had to run the truck because the APU is not working. The compressor isn't turning on, the AC of the APU, so we had to idle the truck, and we did some driving around in Phoenix. So we probably burned at least 15 gallons in idling, but we can go as high as 20 because we were sitting for literally 36 hours. So yeah, we'll kind of add that into the math here. From Phoenix we headed over to Deming where we fueled and we got 7.5. That's with idling. That's with running around, you know, so that's pretty good. At least I think that's pretty good for first shot. Yeah, we're 56 and 57, but let's look here. This 7.3 was at 50, you know, so yeah, if we're getting 7.5 at 52 and 57, you know, and 56, so just call it 54,000 pounds. I don't know. That's pretty good. Okay, from Deming we headed to San Antonio, and we're still 52,000 pounds. San Antonio to Fort Worth we were empty, so 35,000 pounds, and we picked up a load going to Phoenix again. This one was 72,000 pounds, so extremely heavy. I say extremely because we don't tend to go above 70 very often, so it's heavier than what we're used to. We fueled just outside of Fort Worth, so it didn't affect our MPG that badly, and we still got 7.9, so that's great. From Weatherford to Deming, as you can see, this is where it had a big impact, 6.3 MPG. Then we went to Phoenix. From Phoenix we headed back to Deming. I put repair runaround right here because, as you can see, the mileage is different, even though we went straight from the terminal, straight from the fuel stop to the terminal, and usually we go straight from the terminal to the fuel stop. We had to actually make a stop because the bolt that holds up the suspension, what is it, the leveling valve, broke off, and we had to run to the dealer back and forth quite a bit to try to get it fixed. So there's a little bit of runaround. That's a difference in mileage, and we got 7.3. On the way back from Deming, on the way back to Weatherford from Deming, we ended up getting 8.3. So you can see how big of an effect 20,000 pounds has. It has about I guess you could say for every 10,000 pounds you're losing 1 mile to the gallon, because we're 52 here and 72 here. We got 6.3 from Weatherford to Deming and 8.3 from Deming to Weatherford. So that's kind of something neat I never noticed until now that I'm editing this video. So I thought it was 4,600 miles, guys. I'm sorry, it's actually 4,100 miles of testing. So that's it really sucks. I hate that that's the number. So 7.5, as you guys can see, that's where we're at, 7.5. If we were to add the 65 gallons here just to see what this one would give us divided by this. Now remember, this number here is actually 55.056, just call it 55. The reason why I put 65 was because, like I said, we probably would have added about 10 more gallons. So if we add 65, we probably would have seen 8.4, you know, so that's pretty good. But obviously that didn't happen. We fueled here, and that's where we added the 2. Now if I kind of did some math, and I'll show you guys that quick math on how I'm figuring out what the idle time is. So, I mean, we're seeing how much we burned while sitting in Phoenix is what I mean. So we're seeing 7.5 here. We saw 8.4 there. 7.9 here. 7.3, 8.3, right? This math is including these mileage, but if we just included the miles, two Phoenix and then 2 Deming, and subtracted what we fueled in Kingman, we end up getting 5.9. I can tell you, 5.9 is not the norm. If you look at this 65, we don't have anything below 6. If you look at the 70, we only get 5.8 and 5.5 because we're 70,000 pounds, and let me put that back. We're 70,000 pounds going up mountains from Amarillo to Salt Lake City, so that's why. But going back here, we shouldn't be seeing 5.9, especially with a manifold and a tuner. So we can do quick math and see how much did we burn while sitting in Phoenix. 15 gallons, that gives us 7.1. What about 20 gallons? That gives 7.7, you know. What about 25 gallons? It gives us 8.3. Now we're starting to see numbers like here, the 8.4 from here, you know, high 7.9 from here. You know, we're starting to see numbers that should make sense. But I'm not going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and leave it at 7.5, not add this one here. And we're looking at 7.5, guys, as an average. Would I say that's a good average for 4,100 miles of testing? That's a decent average, you know. We're going to do better averages. We're going to do a better average when we do a more thorough MPG test with about almost 6,000 miles I'm hoping for in a week. So just keep in mind, this is the fuel mileage we saw with the manifold and the tuner. And this is why I'm saying that Bully Dog system works, because 8.3, definitely not going to see it in the 70 mile per hour test. Again, highest was 7.9, and we're seeing 8.3, and currently we're still seeing 8.3s and 8.4s. So would I get the Bully Dog tuner and manifold? Tuner, yeah. Manifold, it's if I had 4 miles to the gallon, 5 miles to the gallon, yeah, I would. Just trying to make it quick, guys, and it's already a long enough video. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.